During this entire war, Russian tanks have only been found with very old ammunition. That is, the armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot ammunition, or APFSDS for short. For those who don't know, this type of ammunition is designed primarily to penetrate other tanks. The latest projectile, and the most common one, we have seen them using is the 3BM42 Mango, developed in the mid to late 80s. But we have also seen other projectiles like the 3BM26 from the early 80s used by the Russians, although in a very limited amount. This begs the question, why are Russians not using anything newer? Well, there are several reasons for that. First reason is the production. Russia has been very slow with developing new APFSDS projectiles since the collapse of the USSR. They have developed projectiles like 3BM48 Svinets and 3BM42M Lekalo in the 90s, but neither of those have been adopted for actual service. It wasn't until the mid-2000s that they would develop 3BM59 Svinets 1 and 3BM60 Svinets 2 projectiles, but it would take them a while to actually establish a production of them. In fact, we don't know if their production has been even fully established yet. We have seen some pictures from some factories that are supposedly producing them, but a couple of pictures mean nothing. We don't have any actual data. On the other hand, we do know for a fact that Russia has actually been producing 3BM42 Mango for all those years, both for domestic use and for export. The stockpile of 3BM42 is therefore probably huge, so it would make sense as to why they would pick 3BM42 over 3BM60 or 3BM59. The availability is just much better. Next reason is that they probably don't need anything better. Ukraine has been mostly operating with old Soviet-era T-64, T-80 and T-72 tanks, against which 3BM42 would be more than good enough. Of course, I don't believe it was in Russia's plan to let Ukrainians capture so many of their tanks, but either way, bringing in the low amount of new APFSDS projectiles would probably not be worth it. Keep in mind that if the tank cooks off or explodes, all the ammunition is completely gone, and if you don't have access to a huge number of new projectiles, that is kind of a problem. But as I said, against old armor arrays of T-64BV or the T-72 M1 tanks that they have received from different countries, 3BM42 would be more than good enough. Since it is a two-piece tungsten core, it is pretty decent at penetrating composite armors. Now, Russian tanks that they have captured, including one T-90M tank, would probably be immune to 3BM42 frontally, but all of those tanks are weak to APFSDS shots to the sides, and Ukrainians don't have anything better to throw back at Russians anyway. And the last reason I believe is that they are afraid of NATO getting their hands on their latest ammunition. Keep in mind, new APFSDS projectiles are made to defeat modern armor arrays. If NATO could get their hands on the latest Russian ammunition, they could easily test its effectiveness against their own tanks and develop the best armor possible to stop those projectiles. Just as an example, during the 1982 Lebanon War, Syrians managed to capture some Israeli tanks with M111 HATS APFSDS ammunition, which was one of the most modern projectiles at the time. They sent those to the Soviets, and after trials with the ammunition, Soviets did armor upgrades on their tanks and even developed new armor arrays based on those trials. Therefore, I believe it is in Russia's best interest to keep those projectiles away from the conflict area. For now, at least. That would be all. If you like my content, you can consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a nice day.